Berg was, he was so surprised on what he saw. Then he decided to change the experiment a little bit. And what he did this time, he went to the same groups, but he presented the problem differently. He said, now solve it. The only difference here now is the tags were outside the box. The first case, the tags were inside the box. Now, group 1 did a lot better than group 2. There's a lot of interesting research and theory behind this finding, right? So what we have to figure out is why did group 1 did bad in case 1 and why did group 1 did better in case 2? Actually, they made the problem so easy here, right? When I showed you the first picture, it was probably hard. You were actually thinking on how to do it. But now, it is actually a candle problem for dummies. So what exactly this is telling us? Actually, there is another research. Oh, actually, there's a quest 2 now. Identify that famous behavioral economist. If you know the answer, you can write it down. The answer is Dan Ariely. So Dan is a famous behavioral economist. He's a professor at Duke University, and he has written a lot of books like Predictably Irrational and Upside of Irrationality and things like that. So what Dan did was Dan did a similar research with a lot of people around extrinsic motivation factors and intrinsic motivating factors, and this is what he found. What he found was people tend to do really well. Extrinsic motivators tend to help people in jobs which require mechanical skills and did really bad in jobs that required even rudimentary cognitive skills. That's pretty stellar finding. So what he's saying here is, if you think about jobs can be classified into 2 different types of jobs. Algorithmic jobs, which is like you give a checklist of things to somebody and ask them to finish the items. All I have to do is make sure that it's done and put a check mark. That's algorithmic jobs, or jobs which require mechanical skills. In those cases, extrinsic motivating factors like the carrot principle, I'll give you a sweeter carrot or I'll give you a sharper cane. Those things really work in those kind of jobs. But whereas when it came to any jobs which required rudimentary cognitive skills, even little bit of brain thinking and maybe somewhere I can apply my imagination and creativity, actually these things turned out to be really bad. So that's a very, very important finding. Even if you think about from a macro level, mechanical jobs or like the jobs which require mechanical skills are the most likely to be outsourced to another part of the world where things can be done at a cheaper price. And the jobs that will remain are the jobs which require these cognitive skills. And what this theory is saying us is cognitive skills, if you apply external motivation factors that turned out to be bad. I just want to ask you to think about the reward systems in your workplaces today and see if they are actually helping cognitive skills or not helping cognitive skills. So this is an opportunity now to actually earn a badge. So the question is, are problems or challenges at work, most of you, I assume, are software engineers, are problems which can be classified as candle box problems with tags inside the box or tags outside the box? Anyone can answer.
For us, inside the box.
Inside the box, right? So as we are presented with problems that we have to apply our imagination and creativity as software engineers to solve it most of the time. So that's correct. Everyone will get a badge. That's the candle box badge. So there is a badge on the back of your sheet. You can apply a star to that box.
Which box?
Okay. So our rule was we applaud once everybody gets a badge, right? Okay. That's good.
I feel so much better.
I want you to keep thinking about what you're doing here. Okay? Somebody actually answered and everybody got a badge. Okay? Just keep that thought in mind. So having talked about intrinsic motivation, seems like a very intrinsic, very exciting topic. It is better to dissect it and understand what exactly this intrinsic motivation means. So there is a research that was done by University of Rochester professors by the names Dr. Edward Tecci and Dr. Richard Ryan. They formed this theory called self-determination theory. What it says is autonomy, mastery, and social interaction. These are the three things which form the core of intrinsic motivation. So autonomy is I control my life. Mastery is I improve. And social interaction is I connect with others. So these three actually form the self-determination theory or SDT. But Rajat in his book added a couple more, which he said progress and purpose. Purpose, I make a difference. Progress is I achieve. These are the two other things which also form the core of intrinsic motivation. So I'm going to talk about each one of them from a context of a game. So let's take an example of autonomy. Autonomy is I control. If you are playing a game of Monopoly or a chess or a poker, that decision whether to buy Park Place or not, whether to sacrifice your pawn for the greater good of your king, or to go all in a poker game, these are all decisions that you make. Nobody else is making that choice for you, right? So that is autonomy. So I have complete control on my decisions, whether it's good or whether it's bad. For instance, I'm playing a video game and there is a switch. If I press the switch, does it open the door to a cave of treasure, or will it summon a demon that I have to fight? These are all decisions that I am making. So that's autonomy. This is one of the topmost intrinsic motivating factors that we have to be aware of. The number two is mastery. Mastery is I improve. So if you remember when we were kids, we started with tic-tac-toe. And once we figured out the rules of tic-tac-toe and the steps that we need to take to win it, it was no longer interesting. So then we moved to other board games, like probably Snakes and Ladders, or it's a bad example, but some other board game. And even after a few years and skill level, those were boring. And naturally, as you aged and your skill level improved, you were more attracted to games which had strategy and tactics, maybe like a lot of role-playing games on internet or Xbox, and maybe chess is another good example, which you can always get better at. You cannot get perfection in it, but you can always get better at it. And these are the things that you have to keep in mind when you're designing a gamification aspect for your business problem. The third one is purpose, I make a difference. When you play a game, you put aside 2 hours or 3 hours of your time and you enter something in a game world called as a magic circle. And in that circle, everybody is marching towards a common goal, which is to win. That win doesn't have any significance outside that world, but in that world, that is the only reason for our existence. That is purpose. In order to explain it better, I'll tell you another experiment by Dan Ariely, and it's mentioned in his book Upside for Irrationality. What Dan did was, again, he took 2 groups of people. For one group, he gave them a box of Legos, and for both of them, he gave a box of Legos. And what he told one group 1 was, okay, you build robots with these Legos, and I'll pay you $2 for the first one, and 11 cents less for the next one, and 11 cents less for the next one, and it keeps on going. And he said you can stop it any time, right? And he also told them that the same box of Legos will be used by every student. So what it meant was pretty much the robots that I built will be disassembled, and the same Legos will be used by another guy to build it, right? So this was the setup. For group 1, the teaching assistant who sat with the group 1 took the robots that they built, put them in a box which was on the floor. And pretty much when they said, I'm done, he left the room, they paid him, and they disassembled it. The second student came in and they started working. Whereas for the group 2, the teaching assistant started disassembling the robots right after they built it, right in front of their eyes. Okay? And put those Legos back into the box. Both of them knew that their Legos would be disassembled, right? Just the fact that one didn't see it, one actually saw it being disassembled. obviously you can guess group 1 probably did a lot better than group 2. Actually, group 1 on an average built 10.6 robots until they gave up. And group 2 just built around 7 point something. And group 1 also, when the price of the robot actually came down to 65 cents, 65% of the group 1 still kept on building. Whereas on group 2, only 20% of them were building. So it's clearly evident that group 2 didn't see a purpose in their work. They saw it being disassembled right in front of their eyes. Whereas group 1, even though they knew it, they were in a delusion that the robots that they've built are going to live forever. So they felt some purpose in what they were doing. So that is a very another interesting experiment that tells us a lot about human behavior. If winning is the goal, then I need to know how I am doing in the game. So progress, as people like to know how we are doing. Feedback is important. And if there is a delayed feedback, then that's going to demotivate users as well. So if you do something and you get the result 10 days later, that's bad. So traditionally schools, at least from India, where I come from, I take an exam and I get my grade probably a week or 10 days later. And I always wanted my grade the next day. I didn't know these principles then, but now I do. So there's a lot of change in the way education is going to be delivered in the next coming years. It's going to be gamified. A lot of people know about Khan Academy already. It's all gamification embedded with education. And as you know, Bill Gates is a big fan of Khan, and he recently funded him with $30 million or something from his Gates Foundation. It's a great site. If you haven't looked at it, I encourage you to take a look at it. The last thing is social interaction, which is I connect. So we are all social beings, and we like to